this team doesn't feel like the youngest roster in all of college football. In fact, it feels like one of the most experienced rosters in all of college football. You return Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. You return 4 of 5 starters on the offensive line. Your defense is one of the most stacked it's been since 21 and 22. That linebacker unit is the best in the country. Your secondary is led by KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson. Like, this team is stacked. The tight end room, don't even get me started. Somebody in the Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hammy Show, presented by First American Bank and Trust. This is the Daily Ham. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday, and it is brought to you by Legacy Structures. This is episode 25, and my friends, you know it's close to college football season when the AP poll has dropped. And yes, it dropped. Yesterday afternoon, the AP poll has officially dropped preseason ranking for all of college football. So that is what we're doing today. We are going to justify what is right, what is wrong, what the AP got right, what they got wrong on their first poll of 2026. God, it's beautiful. It is just magnificent to hear. I am absolutely juiced up to talk about this and cannot wait to get into it with you. We've got my ranking next to it. We're going to have them on YouTube, both to my right and to my left. So you have like a visual kind of thing to look at both rankings. But guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got a huge one today here on the Daily Ham episode episode 25, kicking off the 2026 college football season. Let's ride. But like I said, my friends, today is brought to you by Legacy Structures. If you've been thinking about an upgrade for your recreational space, whether it's a dugout, a pickleball court, a pavilion, blacktop, whatever you have in mind, my friends, they have you covered. We got a little technical difficulties coming in. It's coming back on Instagram. And we're back. So, yes, today is brought to you by Legacy Structures. If you've been thinking about an upgrade for your recreational space, a dugout, pavilion, blacktop, pickleball courts, you name it, they can do it. If you can imagine it, they can build it. Based in the Southeast, they specialize in building high-quality, fully custom structures designed to fit your lifestyle. No cookie-cutter builds, pure craftsmanship, durability, and your vision brought to life. From start to finish, they handle it all, my friends. Legacy Structures. What is your legacy? My friends, let's get into this AP Top 25. We're going to count down from 25 to 1. Like I said, on YouTube, once this is uploaded tonight and released tomorrow, we'll have my rankings next to me, and we'll have the AP poll next to me on the other side. We can compare, we can contrast. But for now, for the Instagram Live crowd, we're just going through and talking about this AP Top 25, counting down from 25 to 1. So coming in at number 25 is none other than the Missouri Tigers. Austin Simmons goes to Missouri after spending 2 years with Ole Miss. He was the backup to Jackson Dart, came in against Georgia in that one game, drove the Rebels right down the field. He was the labeled starter entering 2025, and then he went down with an injury. Trinidad came in, and he never gave it back. But I think this was a massive, massive transfer portal get for the Missouri Tigers. I think he's going to be awesome and really fun to watch for Eli Drinkwitz in this Missouri offense. So I'm pumped. I think 25 is pretty fair for Missouri. I could see them a little bit higher in my rankings. We've got them at number 22, but anywhere in that 20 to 25 range is probably the right spot for this Missouri team. They're playing in the SEC. They're playing in that 9-game schedule that everybody has been talking about at SEC Media Days at the end of last season, all that jazz. The SEC schedule, that 9-game slate, is going to be tough no matter what team it is. Missouri kind of has an easier break on the schedule lottery. Like I said, it's still the SEC. It's still tough football day in and day out every single Saturday. So Missouri's going to have a tough go at it, but I think Austin Simmons is going to be the answer. I could see Missouri, going anywhere from 9-3, maybe even 10-2, and being on that fringe playoff conversation to like a 7-5, 6-6 team. There's a lot of leeway with what this Missouri team could do. It's kind of all resting on Austin Simmons' shoulders. So AP poll 25, Missouri. Hammy poll 22, Missouri. At number 24, we're going with Louisville here on the AP poll. The Cardinals. I love Jeff Brom. I think he's one of the great quarterback minds in all of college football. I think he's an exceptional head coach. And what he's done with quarterbacks, you can't deny his success and his quarterback pedigree. What he just put out in the NFL and Tyler Shuck was an underrated guy that didn't have a lot of draft hype, but he just kind of climbed and climbed and climbed up to draft day, goes in the third or fourth round, I believe, to the Saints. Now he's the Saints QB1. He might be their franchise quarterback if all things go according to plan in 2026 for the Saints. That is all thanks to Jeff Brom and what he did with Tyler Shuck this year. The Louisville Cardinals, my friends. It is going to be a fun ride, and I think they've got the best shot in the ACC to knock off Miami. I really do believe that this Louisville team is the second best team in the ACC. The ACC is run by Miami, but what did Louisville do last year? Louisville upset Miami. So I really think that this team, if quarterback play comes together and if Jeff Brom kind of gets himself into these big game situations where he's going to be, in striking distance, giving his Cardinals a fighting chance, then they can be right up there in the ACC championship conversation. And I really, really like this Louisville team. Of course, Lincoln Keenholz is the quarterback there. I think I failed to mention his name before before I jumped into the Jeff Brom quarterback conversation. But Keenholz, insane dude, went to I believe it was Ohio State, and then sat behind, or he was supposed to be, he was Ohio State, and he sat behind Julian Sayin. But when you go into last year, before Julian Sayin was named the quarterback, it was a Keenholz versus Sayin quarterback duel, and you didn't really know who was going to come out on top. The question mark around that is, was this always Julian Sayin's job? They were just not saying it, or were they not saying it because they wanted Julian Sayin to fight for it and take it over, but they kind of always had in mind that Sayin would be the guy? I don't really know, but if Keenholz was really duking it out with Julian Sayin, then he would have been the starting quarterback for Ohio State last year, and that Ohio State team was one of the most talented rosters in college football. So I think Keenholz at Louisville can keep them in ACC conference championship contention, which in turn keeps you in playoff contention. So I'm looking forward to watching this Louisville team play. They come in at number 24 on the AP poll, number 21 on the Hammy poll. Like I said, I'm a little higher on these Cardinals. At 23, we've got Houston. Houston is kind of that sleeper team out of the Big 12. Everybody's talking about Texas Tech. You don't really know what to expect out of Texas Tech. You know they're probably the most dominant team in the Big 12, but with the Brendan Sorsby news, and him going from Cincinnati to Texas Tech and then getting in trouble gambling, you don't really know what's going to come of them at quarterback, and that seemed to be what was holding them back last year from competing with the big dogs in the playoffs. So could Texas Tech take a step back because they put so many chips on the table, if you will, in gambling talks to be sort of that perennial team in the Big 12, and they're kind of just falling off. BYU is in that argument to be the best team in the Big 12. But I think the third best team, maybe tied for third, is Houston and Utah. And I really like this Houston team. Connor Wigman, the transfer from Texas A&M, this is his second year in that system. He's going to be a fun watch. I like this Houston team a lot. I'm higher on Houston in my preseason rankings as well. Got them at 17th in the country, just behind Texas Tech and BYU as the third best team in the Big 12. So I really like this Houston team. But for the AP poll's sake, they put them at number 23. Hammy poll's sake, we put them at 17. At number 22, we're going with the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, Iowa, we know, is this perennially talented defensive team led by Kurt Ferentz. I don't know why I just drew a blank on his name, but Ferentz is one of the longest tenured coaches in all of college football. And with Iowa, or with him at the helm of Iowa, you know he's going to be they're always going to have a good defense. The question mark is always the offense. So can Iowa's offense without Gronowski at quarterback step up to the plate and be just good enough to keep them in Big Ten championship conversation and in turn playoff conversation? I think Iowa will be an exciting watch. You can't really expect them to be any higher than this in the preseason poll because you don't know what's coming from them. So I like Iowa at 22. I put them at 24. I'm a little lower on Iowa just because their offense is so lackluster. But that defense is always going to be a championship level defense. So excited to see Iowa. Before we get into 21 to, I believe we're going 21 to 8. We're going a big group next. We got to read a couple of advertisements and talk about our friends at First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust is the presenting sponsor of the Hammy Show, and we could not appreciate them more. When it comes to your money, you want a bank you can actually trust. That's why First American Bank and Trust has been serving communities with a personal touch you just won't find at the big banks. Whether you're opening your first account, whether you're planning for your future, whether you're growing your business, or whatever you have in mind with your money, First American is there to help every step of the way with real people, real relationships, and real solutions along the way. They are not only the presenting sponsor of the Hammy Show, but they are the bank I use every single day, both personally and in my business. We would not be here without First American, obviously them managing my money, but with them as the presenting sponsor of the Hammy Show, we have eternal gratitude heading to First American's way. So you walk in, it's a smile, it's a wave, it's a familiar face, it's a one-on-one meeting. The people is what separate First American Bank and Trust from the big banks. So if you're ready for better banking, make the switch today. First American Bank and Trust, where your future comes first, my friends. And then the Hammy Show on the road. We are hitting it big time this fall. We are going to a ton of college campuses to catch some college football games. And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be electric, but it would not be possible without our friends at Hughes Subaru. Hughes Subaru is the best car dealership in all of America. I drive a 2019 Outback, and those 4 wheels will be taking me across the country all fall long to get to college football games across the United States. At Hughes Subaru, you're getting more than just the vehicle. You're getting reliability, safety, and performance you can count on, from the versatile Outback to the sporty Crosstrek. Subaru is built to take you wherever you want to go. And at Hughes Subaru, the experience is just as strong as the lineup. Friendly service, a team that actually listens, and a commitment to helping you find the perfect fit or repair your car. So whether you're upgrading your ride or buying your first car, stop by Hughes Subaru today and see the difference for yourself. Hughes Subaru, my friends, adventure starts here. Let's get into 21 through 8. We're going a massive grouping right here. I'm talking about college football, the AP poll, talking about the Hammy Poll. We got so much college football coverage coming for you this fall, and it is just now starting with the AP poll drop. So at 21, the AP poll has the Utah Utes. Kyle Whittingham is off to Michigan. It is a new era at Utah. It is a culture that is always going to be consistent. Joe Klatt said it famously: death, taxes, and Utah football. They're always going to be in the conversation in the Big 12. They are always going to be in the conversation in the major landscape, national landscape of college football. I like this Utah team a ton, but I am a little lower on them than the AP poll. I don't think they deserve to be in this top 25 because it being year one of a new era with Kyle Whittingham off to Michigan. I just don't trust a first-year head coach in a not big-time college football brand. Like, of course, Kalen DeBoer takes over at Alabama. Saban left him with a stacked roster. DeBoer-led Alabama is going to be in the conversation in the top 10 rankings in that year one, just like they were a couple of years ago when DeBoer took over after Saban's departure. You just can't trust that with some of these smaller market, if you will, teams like Utah. So I have Utah outside of my top 25, but the AP poll has Utah right at number 21. Getting to our first, I think this is our first SEC team. Missouri was at 25. So our second SEC team in the top 25 is Tennessee, coming in at number 20. Faison Brandon is going to be your starting quarterback at Tennessee. That is what all reports are, saying, I guess. I was looking for a word and it just wouldn't come to the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I think Faison Brandon's the guy there. You're going to be invested in a freshman experience that is going to be a little rocky on Rocky Top, if you will. It's going to be bumps. It's going to be highs and lows. It's going to be flashes, and it's going to be very dark times. That's just what you expect from a freshman quarterback playing in the SEC in their first year on campus. Josh Heupel, much like Jeff Brom, one of the better quarterback minds at the head coach position in all of college football. What he did with Hendon Hooker, what he did with Joe Milton, what he even did with Joey Aguilar last season in a year that was supposed to be a down year for Tennessee. You can expect Josh Heupel to have his quarterback not necessarily like automatically making the right decisions, but he's going to put him in the best position to make those decisions that end up being correct, hopefully, for the Volunteers. I like Faison Brandon. I like this Tennessee defense a lot. I think this Tennessee defense is one that has really hurt them in the past. It's a defense that probably kept them from getting, to the college football playoff in 2022 when they were, for a brief period of time, the number one team in the country before coming to Athens and getting stomped by Georgia, the eventual national champions. Before Hendon Hooker went down, that defense was their kind of chink in the armor that was holding them back. It was what was hurting them most. Josh Heupel has gone out and really revitalized this Volunteers defense, and I think it's going to do well for the Tennessee Volunteers this season in Knoxville. I think this Tennessee team has a tough break in the schedule. They avoid Georgia this year, but they have Alabama. It is at home, which is good. That's great sign. And Josh Heupel, his past 2 times facing the Alabama Crimson Tide at Neyland Stadium, well, my friends, he is 2-0 in those last 2 meetings. So I just think this this Tennessee team has, let's see, I'm going to look up something on the roster real quick, but I do think this Tennessee team has a lot of promise. Like I said, it's just going to be an experiment with Faison Brandon, but you paid him all this money. You got to go all in. The defense is going to be the make or break of whether this Tennessee team is competing for a playoff spot or falling out of the top 25. You can see this team going either way, whether they go 6-6, 7-5, or 9-3. I really don't see them going better than 9-3, just the way their schedule shakes out. But like I said, this defense, that's going to be the make or break of them. They bring in Jim Knowles, the former defensive coordinator who won a national championship with Ohio State in 2024, goes to Penn State on James Franklin's staff, gets fired in the coaching transition, and Jim Knowles is down in Tennessee. He didn't get it figured out at Penn State, but I don't necessarily think that was all his fault. I think there was just a lot of outside noise that got to him, but I really like Jim Knowles. I think he's one of the better defensive coordinators in all of college football. So getting him down there in Knoxville is going to be a plus for Josh Heupel's staff. Tennessee coming in at number 20. That is exactly where the Hammy Poll has them as well. We are on the same wavelength, us in the AP. I should be a voter, I believe, on this poll. So Tennessee coming in at number 20. 19. This one's going to be a fun one because I don't have them this high, but clearly the AP poll believes that SMU is the second best team in the ACC. SMU coming in at number 19 on the AP poll. I'm down on them. I've got them at number 23. I've got Louisville just a couple of spots ahead of them at 21 as the second best team in the ACC, but fair spot. It's a fair spot for SMU to have them right there at number 19. They are going to be in the ACC championship conversation, which in turn gets you in the playoff conversation, because if you win the conference, my friends, you are most likely in. We saw pandemonium break out last year in the ACC when Duke won the ACC championship as a 7-5 team, but SMU can go 10-2, get into the ACC championship, and if they win, if they take down Miami, who I think is the heir apparent to be a lock for the ACC championship game, then I think this SMU team can very well find themselves in the college football playoff for the second time in 3 years. Old Patty Cassett coming in, SMU, ton of money and even more question marks. You said it. I couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. SMU is one of those teams that has the Texas money backing them. They're right in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and boy, oh boy, is that money talking. SMU is putting a pile of money into their football program, and you can't blame them. That's the game of college football now. But those question marks seem to loom larger than the money signs. I think SMU is the third best team in the ACC. I don't have them as high as 19 like the AP poll does. I've got them at 23. So, like I said, SMU at 19 for the AP poll. What's up, everybody? I wanted to remind you to hit that subscribe button. It's what keeps the lights on here at the Ham Cave, and we want to help you so you help us. If you hit that subscribe button, you can stay up to date on all of the Hammy Show content we put out here on YouTube. It's the best content in all of sports, my friends, and if you hit that subscribe button, we can keep doing this for you. So, hit that little tiny subscribe button. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just keeps you up to date. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the show. Let's get up to 18. 18. maybe this is a shock to everybody. Maybe this is, I don't know. It's, I guess surprising, if you will, because it's a first-year head coach because of the implosion that happened last year. But it's Penn State. Penn State coming in at number 18 on the AP poll. In the Hammy poll, we are pretty much aligned. I've got them at 19. I like Matt Campbell a ton. I think Matt Campbell is one of the great underrated head coaches in all of college football. And I do believe that as Penn State's head coach, he can get it figured out. Yes, the question mark remains, can Penn State win the big one? Was that just a James Franklin problem, or is it a Penn State program problem? We shall see under Matt Campbell. But the big case for the Nittany Lions this year to be successful is their schedule. Out of the Big Ten, they won the schedule lottery. They are smooth sailing all season long because they avoid the big three in the Big Ten, and that is Indiana, that is Oregon, and that is Ohio State. Penn State has to play none of those three teams. Their hardest game will either be Michigan or USC. Very intriguing games because USC is one of those teams that in Lincoln Riley's tenure there has not done anything. This is all banking on USC finally getting it figured out under Lincoln Riley and getting to the college football playoff. Penn State can ruin those chances with a win in Los Angeles. I think it would be incredible. I think that game's in Los Angeles. Let's check that. Penn State versus USC. I believe it's in LA. It could be in... Nope, it's in Happy Valley. So even a better chance for the Nittany Lions to make some noise and get to be one of those better Big Ten teams, or at least have one of the better records. So if they have one of the better records, of course, that puts them in Big Ten championship conversation. Big Ten championship conversation means college football playoff conversation. I believe that Penn State can go 10-2. With a 10-2 record, they are on the fringe of being in the Big Ten championship game. It's whether or not Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana go 11-1 or 12-0 better. I believe that Penn State can go 10-2 and sneak their way into the playoff. If they are in the playoff, I don't find them to be a huge threat because of their weak schedule. I don't really think that it justifies how good they actually are. But I do believe that Penn State can go 10-2 and find themselves in the college football playoffs. So I like Matt Campbell there. I like Rocco Becht at quarterback. It's going to be a fun year for Penn State. It's obviously year one of a new era, so we shall see if they can get things figured out immediately under Matt Campbell. But for the AP poll's sake, they've got him at number 18. Hammy Poll, we've got him at 19, so pretty much aligned there. We actually flipped. Well, no, we didn't flip these two teams. We're one spot ahead. But Washington at 17, another Big Ten team, which just is crazy. It still sounds weird to me that a team that far west is in the Big Ten Conference, but Washington, Big Ten contender, coming in at number 17. Damon Williams is back at quarterback after a wild offseason. He tried to leave, couldn't leave, comes back, and he is with the Huskies. So we shall see what happens out there in Washington. But Jed Fisher as the head coach, I really like him. Damon Williams is going to be a really good quarterback, one of the better ones in the Big Ten. And I think Washington's pretty fair at number 17. In the Hammy poll, we've got him at 18, as you can see. And I think we're obviously aligned on this. I just don't see Washington having much more of a higher ceiling. I think the 16, 17, 18 range is about where Washington is kind of capped. Just because they don't have the superstar talent on the defensive side of the ball. They do have one of the better home atmospheres, and I think they still have... No, they lost to Ohio State last year, so I think their home winning streak faded into the abyss. But Washington is a tough place to play, that in Husky Stadium. So Washington at home, dangerous team. Schedule, they've got some tough ones. They've got some of those big-time Big Ten opponents. But if Damon Williams comes into form, if he takes Washington football serious and doesn't try to leave in the middle of the season like he did this offseason, then, hey, we could see Washington very much in the Big Ten championship conversation. But I've got them kind of capped right here where the AP poll does as well. So AP poll, 17. Hammy poll, 18. Washington Huskies. At number 16, another Big Ten team, a little conglomerate of Big Ten teams right here. We got Michigan coming in on the AP poll. Kyle Whittingham, we talked about him a little earlier. He's first-year head coach at Michigan. The scandal with Sharon Moore. It is rare in college football for a program in a scandal to find an upgrade at the head coaching position. Seems like in most of these scandals, you've got to just kind of scramble and figure something out, and you maybe make a decision that's a little too soon. So I just think that I think it's going to be some growing pains, although I do think Kyle Whittingham is a far better head coach than Sharon Moore. It's just year one, and that's what you have to expect. Bryce Underwood at quarterback, he has got to take that next step forward. Last year, I don't know if it was Sharon Moore holding him back because he didn't want the freshmen to make freshman mistakes, or if Bryce Underwood just can't complete the passes, can't make the decisions, can't read the defenses in those big-time moments. You don't really know what happens behind those closed doors. But if he really is the talent that we kind of hoped he was coming out of high school, then he has the potential to be a Heisman candidate. He has the potential to take this Michigan team to the college football playoff. So it's whether or not Kyle Whittingham kind of lets him off the leash and take control of this Michigan offense. You got to give him the keys to this Corvette if you want to go far and fast. So and you really need fast if you're looking for a playoff berth in year one of the Kyle Whittingham era. So Michigan coming in at 16 in the AP poll. In the Hammy poll, where do we have Michigan? I've got Michigan a lot higher. I am a little higher on Michigan simply because I think Kyle Whittingham is a great coach, and I think that he is going to figure out Bryce Underwood. I've got Michigan all the way at number 12 in that college football playoff conversation. I've got them as the fourth best Big Ten team. I've got them ahead of USC, which the AP poll doesn't have. I'm a little higher on Michigan. So is it fair to put them at 16? Yes, there's question marks surrounding a first-year head coach. There's question marks surrounding a second-year quarterback in Bryce Underwood. But if this Michigan team puts it all together, they are a scary, scary team that could knock off one of these big-time Big Ten opponents. So at number 16, we have the Michigan Wolverines. Let's see. We missed the 15 team on the notes here. Failed to put them along. So we got to go down here and find it real quick. Oh, no, we didn't miss it. It's just because it's a tie. I did not realize that. What a coinky-dink. So coming in at number 14 and number 14, a little 14A and B, is USC and BYU. USC, with Jaden Mayava and Lincoln Riley, this is the year that it has all been built toward. This is the best roster that Lincoln Riley has compiled down there in Southern California. He has the best quarterback he's had since Caleb Williams. He's got a Heisman contender in quarterback. You lose Mekhi Lemon to the NFL draft, the Biletnikoff winner from last year. But this USC team has a lot of promise, and a lot of people are really, really high on the Trojans. I am aligned. I believe the Trojans are the 14th ranked team in all of the country. So the Hammy Poll, 14. The AP Poll, 14 for the USC Trojans. Lincoln Riley, you better get it figured out, because if not, it's going to be pack your bags, see you on your way out, because this is it. Your leash is as short as it possibly can be, and the seat is pretty darn warm. So if you don't go to the playoff, I think it is pack your bags, set sail, and go on to your next stop, because I don't think Southern California will have you anymore. But all that to say, AP poll, number 14, USC, tied with the BYU Cougars. I've got BYU at 15, so we are right on the money there. Very close. You could say that BYU is the 15th ranked team if they weren't tied for 14th with USC. So we're kind of right on the money right here. But BYU, they are putting them as the second highest ranked Big 12 team. BYU, Bear Bachmeier, we know the story of him last year. Comes in as a freshman and just absolutely takes the Big 12 by storm. BYU is one of the better teams in the Big 12. And a really, really fun watch. Like, they were just fun all year. I really like this team a lot. Kalani Sitake was in those coaching carousel conversations for the Michigan job, for the Penn State job. He chooses to stick with his Cougars in Provo. So I respect the hell out of him for staying with BYU, and I think this is going to be a great year for the Cougars. I've got BYU being my Big 12 champs and going to the college football playoff, eliminating Texas Tech. So I've got them as the best ranked, or the highest ranked Big 12 team. They are just behind Texas Tech Red Raiders, a couple spots in the AP poll, but Kalani Sitake, Bear Bachmeyer, and the Cougars coming in at number 14, tied with USC in the AP poll. We've got BYU at 15 in the Hammy poll. At number 13, how crazy is this, my friends? Alabama. Alabama is the 13th ranked team in the AP poll. In the Hammy poll, they are the 13th ranked team. Both the Hammy poll and the AP are right on the money with this Alabama Crimson Tide team. I think this Alabama team has a lot of question marks, but they have all the talent in the world. It's whether or not Kalen DeBoer can sort of get over the hump, win the big ones, and really find a run game. Like, that's what it boils down to for me for this Crimson Tide team. If they can't run the ball in the SEC this year, then I think it is going to be a bumpy road for the Crimson Tide. So you've got to figure it out. We've got a quarterback duel going down there. Keelan Russell looks to be the favorable starter, but Austin Mack is right there in the running to take the job as the QB1 for the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. So Alabama at 13. Kalen DeBoer, you have to figure out what the hell you're going to do with your run game, because if it's not there, you're not a playoff team. I think you lose 3 or 4, maybe even 5 games this year. Keelan Russell, he can be great. He can be even really good, but it all boils down to the run game for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But I wanted to remind you of the best thing I saw today. For you Alabama fans, this is the best thing you could imagine. From Rookie Watch on Twitter or X.com, the everything app, trending, Keelan Russell has one of the most beautiful releases you will ever see. One NFL scout reportedly believes there's shades of Jaden Daniels, the Commanders quarterback. Don't wear number 5, Keelan Russell. But Keelan Russell is throwing the ball like Jaden Daniels and reportedly pulling away in Alabama's battle for QB1. This is the best thing I saw today coming out of college football. I believe Keelan Russell has all but locked up the QB1 spot for the Alabama Crimson Tide. The best thing I saw today is that this is so much promise for the Alabama Crimson Tide, because not only do you have a said quarterback 1 in the building, you have a guy that you're going to put your chips all in, and you're going to have a guy that is going to be in your program for at least 2 more years. So if you're going to invest in Keelan Russell, if you're going to put the money toward him, if you're going to pay him the big bucks in the NIL market, then go ahead and invest in him and make him your starting quarterback. Austin Mack is gone after this year. So let's just get the Keelan Russell era started. Let's get this thing rolling. And even if it doesn't happen this year, whether you go 9-3 or 11-1, you miss the playoff or you make the playoff, you win the national championship, SEC championship, or you don't, invest in Keelan Russell. Make him QB1 and have the QB set for 2027, and you can really build toward that year if you don't feel that this year is what you are really banking on. But the best thing I saw today is brought to you by Backer, because Backer is the best thing you will see every single day. Whether you're wearing the dry one, the cool one, or the warm one, if you're throwing the bucket hat, man, you can't have it better than that. My friends, Backer is the best thing you will see every single day. Backer's the best brand for the outdoorsman of a college football fan, whether it's toughing out the heat in Athens come September 5th as the summer heat lingers around, or you got to bundle up for those cold winter games, Thanksgiving weekend, Georgia Tech here in Athens, a little rivalry weekend on a Saturday. You need the warm one from Backer. They've got the jackets that can cover you and brave all the elements that Mother Nature throws your way. It's logo branded gear in 3 separate jackets. The cool one has a cooling technology that keeps you breathing amidst the summer heat. The warm one is the thickest and only jacket you'll need once the leaves fall off the trees and the temperatures drops. When you've got to stand in a stadium for 3.5 hours, Backer has you covered. And finally, the dry one, well, the name speaks for itself. The durable rain jacket keeps you dry when the heaviest of rain falls at tailgate or in the stadium. Backer, my friends, is the best thing you will see every single day, because Backer has your back. So, Keelan Russell, best thing I saw today coming out of fall camp in Tuscaloosa. At number 12, we've got the Texas Tech Red Raiders, the highest ranked Big 12 team in the AP poll. My friends, Texas Tech, of course, Lost quarterback Brendan Sorsby. Transfer portal comes in from Cincinnati, and bang, he's gone. Didn't even play a snap at Texas Tech other than a spring game because, my friends, he was dealing cards, placing bets on sports, on teams that he was on. So Brendan Sorsby is out, but this is what remains, the question mark around the quarterback position. Texas Tech had Baron Morton last year. And what happened with Baron Morton? Well, he was arguably the downfall of Texas Tech. That Texas Tech defense could have gone up against anybody. What they did against Oregon and Dante Moore was pretty impressive. I mean, yes, Oregon shut them out 22-0, but holding that high-powered Oregon offense to just 22 points, I found it to be uber impressive. What Joey Maguire has built at Texas Tech in Lubbock, it's impressive, and it starts with the defense. So that Texas Tech defense, is going to be a stout group, and I really think it gives them a chance to compete in the Big 12, to be a Big 12 champion and get into the college football playoff. But that quarterback is what prevents you. It either makes or breaks you from getting to that next level, competing with the big dogs in the playoff. It is going to, of course, be Will Hammond at quarterback. He came in a couple of times in the absence of Baron Morton when he went down last year to injury. He looked pretty good. But Joey Maguire knew he wasn't the guy that could have taken them to the promised land. He knew he had to go get a guy in the transfer portal. So he put all the chips in, or all of his eggs in the Brendan Sorsby basket, and that, of course, did not pan out. But Will Hammond will be the make or break of this Texas Tech team. All that to say, Texas Tech at number 12 in the AP poll. We've got Texas Tech at 16, the second best Big 12 team behind BYU. The AP still believing in Texas Tech, making them the highest ranked Big 12 team on their list. At number 11, the AP poll is going with the LSU Tigers. LSU. One of the most drama-filled off seasons you could ever imagine. They, of course, acquire Lane Kiffin in the Lane saga, pulling him from Ole Miss, pulling him from Oxford, bringing him to Baton Rouge, bringing all of his staff, bringing every single person you could ever want into that building. Lane Kiffin. You then went out into the transfer portal and you pulled every single person you could have imagined, including quarterback Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. You have the pieces to be a serious, serious threat in the SEC and the entire college football landscape. But Lane Kiffin, will you face first-year growing pains? We shall see, my friends. It's going to be an exciting watch no matter what. It's going to be a high-powered offense. I think the big question mark for LSU is whether or not Sam Leavitt has to be the game manager or the superhero. If he's the superhero, then this could all crumble and fall flat on their face right in front of all of our faces. If Sam Leavitt has to be the superhero and carry this team to success, then I don't think LSU is teed up for a college football playoff berth. But if Sam Leavitt is just a game manager, just a really good college quarterback that answers the bell when his name is called, then I think Sam Leavitt and the LSU Tigers can be a playoff team. You've got a bunch of talent surrounding Sam Leavitt on the offensive side of the ball, and you've got one of the most stacked linebacker units and the defenses as a whole in the SEC. Whit Weeks leads the charge. LSU has the pieces to be a threat. I think they lose a couple of games while they get their feet under themselves in the beginning of the Lane Kiffin era, but I think they get rolling toward the end of the season, and this is a playoff team. I think LSU is terrifying with Lane Kiffin at the helm for years to come. It's just whether or not they can get over the growing pains in year one of the Kiffin era. So LSU at number 11 in the AP poll. We're higher on LSU just by a hair. We've got LSU at number 10. I think it's fair to put them in the playoff conversation right off the bat. I think you have one of the best coaches in all of college football, so LSU at number 11 in this AP poll. You want behind-the-scenes coverage? You want anything you can imagine on social media? Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at @_Hammy Show. It is the best social media account in all of sports, I can promise you that. From skits to documentaries, we've got it all here on Instagram and TikTok with The Hammy Show. Hit that follow button and you can stay up to date on anything and everything we post to social media. Now, let's get back to the show. At number 10, the Oklahoma Sooners. Brent Venables-led Oklahoma Sooners are going to the playoff in my eyes. I've got Oklahoma at number 8 in the Hammy poll. I think this Oklahoma team is one of the most dangerous, underrated teams in all of college football. You're seeing them kind of on the outside of those major national title contenders, like your top 6, maybe 7 teams in the country. But with Oklahoma, you've got a guy in John Mateer who comes back from injury, and before injury was a Heisman contender, probably the Heisman favorite in most markets last season. He never comes back 100% after that hand injury, but this year he's got an offseason to prepare for. He's got the legs to extend plays. He's got the arm to find targets. He's got the receivers to hit. And oh boy, do they have the defense. This is the antithesis of what Lincoln Riley had in his tenure with the Sooners. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. You just had these high-powered Big 12 offenses that were putting 50, 60 points on the board every single weekend. With this Oklahoma team, last year you were seeing this team not score more than 2 touchdowns and maybe a field goal every single weekend. John Mateer was the promise. He was the one getting them over the hump. In his absence, it was abysmal. Then in his return, it was abysmal against Texas in those few games following. But they still went to the playoff. I think this Oklahoma team has a championship-level defense, a championship-level head coach in Brent Venables, and a championship-level quarterback. If they can find a running game and it not just be John Mateer's legs, then Oklahoma is one of the most dangerous teams entering the college football playoff conversation. I really like this Oklahoma team. I'm a little higher on them. I've got them at number 8, but the AP poll has them at number 10. We are talking about the top 10 now, or the top 9. We just did our 10th team. But this is where you really start talking about those teams that can win a national championship. And a few of them, well, really one of them that I'm looking at is a team that I don't believe can, but the AP poll clearly does. But first, let's talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. The Ole Miss Rebels get the nod to go ahead of LSU in the absence of Lane Kiffin. Pete Golding era fully begins in Oxford, Mississippi this year. Trinidad Chambliss and Kwan Lacey is probably the best backfield in all of college football, quarterback, running back duo, if you will. Trinidad Chambliss is an absolute freak of nature. What he did against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl that I saw with my own 2 eyes on the Hammy Show on the road, powered by Hughes Subaru, it was befuddling. It was something that you couldn't have dreamt of in your worst nightmare if you're a Georgia fan, or dreamt of in your greatest dream as an Ole Miss fan. Trinidad Chambliss is one of the most electrifying players in all of college football, and just to his left or right, depending on the scheme, you've got Kwan Lacey, who I think is probably the best running back in all of America as we stand right now. Ahmad Hardy, maybe, but Ahmad Hardy, I don't know. He got shot this offseason, so you don't really know how he's going to come back from that. But Kwan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss are going to carry this Ole Miss team, and I think they are both good enough to just be kind of not a 2-man band, but like a 2-man led troop that can be a serious threat. I like this Ole Miss team a lot, and I think the AP poll is obviously not down on them, but I feel like a lot of the national media is somewhat down on them just because you don't have Lane Kiffin. But I think Pete Golding's a pretty damn good head coach, and I think he's going to be a lot of fun in this Oxford environment. You've got the Grove. You've got Vaught Hemingway rocking. I mean, I was looking at some Instagram posts today, and somebody in the captions commented on something that was posted by Ole Miss and said, the original caption was like, dear God, it's beautiful. And it was a picture of Vaught Hemingway Stadium. And this guy commented, I'm a senior at Ole Miss, and I didn't get a single student ticket this season to a game in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Too bad I can't see it. Something like that. It's like, Ole Miss has bought in. This football program is ready to win at the highest level, at the next level, on the biggest stages. They did it last year. They won in the quarterfinal. They went to the playoff semifinal in their first ever college football playoff appearance. I think this Ole Miss team has what it takes to go far in this playoff. I think they have what it takes to win the national championship. They're kind of my first team, second team. I said Oklahoma can win a national championship because of their defense, but I would really think Ole Miss is one of those first teams that we've gone through so far that can legitimately win a national championship in the AP poll. So AP poll has Ole Miss at number 9. Hammy Poll has Ole Miss at number 9 as well, but a scary, scary team that you do not want to see in December or late November. So Ole Miss at number 9. At number 8, we're going Texas A&M. This is where I am way off. I'm not really way off. I'm only 2 spots off, but I just don't have the faith in Texas A&M. I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt after what they did last year. But I don't think Marcel Reed is that good. I don't think this Texas A&M defense is going to fill the holes that they lost on defense to the draft last year. I think this Texas A&M takes a step back from last year. I don't think they're a playoff team. Like I said, I've got them in my top 12. I've got them at number 11 in the Hammy Poll, but I just don't see them being that ultra competitor for a national title or even an SEC title. I think Marcel Reed had his confidence shattered against Texas in rivalry weekend of last year, and then he only put up 3 points last year, or led the Texas A&M offense to 3 points last year in the first round of the college football playoff against Miami. And that was, they held Miami to 10 points, and that was thanks to their stout defense that they lost a lot of pieces to the NFL drafts. I just think Texas A&M is taking a step back this year. I don't think Marcel Reed is the Heisman contender that a lot of Texas A&M fans believe him to be. So I've got Texas A&M at number, or the AP poll has Texas A&M at number 8, but I'm a little lower on the A&M. I've got them at number 11. I think this is the AP poll's kind of one big miss that is in your top 12 playoff contention rankings. So we shall see. Mike Elko, prove me wrong. I dare you. I freaking dare you. I'd love to see it happen, though. I think when Texas A&M is good, it's good for college football. Before we get to these top 7 teams, this is when your real national championship contenders begin. I think these are all the teams that are at the top of the betting markets. I think these are the teams that are going to give you the best chance to bring the national championship trophy back home to wherever your college campus resides. But like I said, before we get into those top 7, I want to talk about our friends at the Vinyl Frontier. It's the best record store in all of America. It's located on the square in Carrollton, Georgia, the city of dreams. If you're driving down I-20 out west from the state of Georgia, if you're about to cross into the Alabama state line, you'll see the Carrollton exit. You better pull off there, hit the town square. You can grab yourself a bite to eat. But the best spot on the town square is a little place called the Vinyl Frontier. It's the greatest record store in all of America. They've got any record you could possibly imagine, any record in the entire universe online. But it's all about the experience. If you can go and find yourself in Carrollton, Georgia, you have got to go. Because I'm telling you, when you walk in and you talk to Quiggs behind the counter, you just get the feel that you have a music love in the air. He will find you the best vinyl that fits your taste of music, whether it's Taylor Swift and Eminem in the new age, or it's Lil Wayne a little farther back, Biggie Smalls, maybe even go all the way back to some vintage country, a little Randy Travis, Alan Jackson, whatever your heart desires. The Vinyl Frontier has you covered. And like I said, if you can't find it in the record store, well, my friends, visit the vinylfrontier.com online and you will have a record on vinyl delivered to your doorstep. The Vinyl Frontier, the best record store in America, is tuning up the Hammy Show all season long, and we could not appreciate them more. So big shout out to the Vinyl Frontier. All right, we got one more ad read and we're going to get to these top 7 teams. You know that feeling when you're craving real crispy, golden, tender chicken? Well, my friends, there is no further place you need to look than Willie B's Chicken Coop. They've got 2 Athens locations, Jefferson Road and Lexington Road. I'm talking about can't stop thinking about it good. Let me put you on Willie B's Chicken. This isn't your average chicken spot. We're talking hand-breaded, cooked to perfection chicken, packed with flavor in every single bite. Whether you're grabbing a quick lunch, feeding the whole crew, or just treating yourself, Willie B's delivers every single time. Don't even get me started on the sides. The kind of sides that don't just sit on the plate, they steal the show. That homemade biscuit, it's unreal. Not to mention their tailgate catering options. Football season is right around the corner, and the best food to have under your tent to be the best tailgate spot in Athens, in Tuscaloosa, in Oxford, Mississippi, in Columbus, Ohio, is to have a little Willie B's chicken box underneath the tent. Fire up the Bunsen burners, keep it warm, and your tailgate automatically becomes the best spot on campus to stop by for a bite to eat. So, next time you're hungry, don't settle. Pull up to Willie B's. They've got a drive-thru. Go to the Chicken Coop and taste what real comfort food is supposed to be, because once you try it, you're going to go back, my friends. Willie B's is the presenting sponsor of our live Wednesday show. We are on site at their Lexington Road location. Come by and see us. We're going to interact with the fans. We're going to do some Q&A stuff. We're going to do some really fun stuff at Willie B's all college football season long, every single freaking Wednesday. So Willie B's, we could not be here without you, and we appreciate you to the moon and back. Let's jump into these top 7 teams. At number 7, I think this is your, I don't know, in the betting markets, they're like 6th or 7th in the betting odds to win the national title, maybe even higher in some. But it's the Miami Hurricanes. Mario Cristobal took his Hurricanes to the national championship game last year to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Oh gosh, I could not have messed that up any worse. To take on the Indiana Hoosiers. They beat the Ohio State Buckeyes in the quarterfinal. But, my friends, this Miami team is even more dangerous than they were last year, I believe. I think they upgraded at the quarterback position. I think Carson Beck was serviceable, and he was good, and he was a, championship-level, championship-contending quarterback. I think Darian Mensah is a championship-winning quarterback, and there is a difference there because Darian Mensah has the intangibles. He's got the Cam Ward mobility. He's got the arm to find the guys downfield, and he's got one of the most dangerous weapons in all of college football in Malachi Toney to get to. Malachi Toney was literally one of my favorite players to watch in recent memory in all of college football. Malachi Toney was so fun. He was probably the best player in the college football playoff. Maybe you could put Trinidad Chambliss in that conversation. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza's in that conversation as the head runner. But I really think Trinidad and Malachi Toney were two electrifying players that you could not take your eyes off of. I think this Miami team is going to be stout and a serious contender. I think they run the table in the ACC. I think they win the ACC championship. I think they beat Notre Dame for a second straight year, making Notre Dame probably 11-1 to close out their season. But I think this Miami team could go 12-0 and be right in the conversation to be the number one team in all of America entering this college football playoff. So I think I'm a little low. I think an AP poll's a little low on Miami, just because you do have a new quarterback in a new system. You don't really know how that's going to work out. You lose a lot of starters on defense. One of the best defensive lines we've seen in recent memory with Reuben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, both off to the pros. So there's those question marks that loom heavy. But Miami, man, if they get it figured out, if they start clicking and firing on all cylinders, this team is going to be a scary, scary matchup. So I like Miami at number 7. Hammy Poll has them at number 7 as well. We're getting to be where we're pretty aligning on these rankings. I've got a few that are a little bit different, but these top 7 teams are generally the same among the entire college football rankings, people, analysts, whatever you want to call them. So at number 6, we're going with the Indiana Hoosiers for the AP poll. And at number 6 on the Hammy poll, we're going with the Indiana Hoosiers. I think this is the perfect spot for them. The big question mark is, can you fill Fernando Mendoza's shoes? It's all up to Josh Hoover, the transfer from TCU. He has to protect the ball. I've talked about this a million times if I've talked about it once. Josh Hoover was an interception machine at TCU. Fernando Mendoza was the antithesis of that. He was a fundamental quarterback that took care of the ball, did not turn it over, did not take sacks in dire situations, did not fumble the ball. And he had the legs to extend the play and really had the legs to not only extend the play in the backfield and find a target downfield, he had the legs to get the yards you needed, to get the first downs. We saw it in that game-winning touchdown in the national championship game. Josh Hoover doesn't have to be Fernando Mendoza, but he does have to obviously be serviceable, but he's got to be a pretty good quarterback to take Indiana back to the national championship game and really even to the playoff. Curt Cignetti is probably in the argument for the best coach in all of college football. I think it's still Kirby Smart, but he's 2 or maybe 3. If you put Ryan Day at 2, those top 3, it's kind of 1A, 1B, 1C. But I think Curt Cignetti probably has the best staff in all of America. This Indiana team is going to be a scary matchup at any point in the season. They've got a big one against Ohio State. They've got a big one against, I think they avoid Oregon this year. I've got to look back. But they've got Michigan. They've got USC. Like, Indiana's going to have a tough bout. I got to look back at their schedule, so don't quote me on that information. But Indiana, going to be a fun watch. I think it's a fair ranking right there at number 6 with the question marks surrounding the quarterback position. Quick pause in the show to remind you to get your very own Hammy Show merch. It's the best merch in the entire game, and I can promise you that. You will not be disappointed because for just $26, my friends, you can have this t-shirt. And I'll even throw in one of these little koozies for you. But my friends, all you have to do is DM me on Instagram or TikTok at @the_Hammy Show and secure your very own Hammy Show t-shirt. We appreciate you. Now, let's get back to the video. At number 5, the AP poll has put the Texas Longhorns. So, in comparison to what we were talking about last year at this time, the AP poll is a little down on the Texas Longhorns, even though Arch Manning is there, even though this team has been bought and is probably a $45 million roster. The AP poll is a little down on the Texas Longhorns. So, Texas coming in at number 5. Sark has to get over not only the Georgia hump, but just the big game hump in general. Arch Manning has to take that step forward. He was abysmal to start the season last year, but toward the end of the season, he was playing some of the best football out of any quarterback in all of America. I think Arch is going to take that step forward. I think he's going to be everything that Texas fans have hoped for. I think he's going to be what everything he has been hyped up to and then the national media. Like, I think Arch Manning is all the hype was there last year, and now I think everybody's like, oh, he couldn't do it last year when all the hype, all the outside noise just crushed him. But this year it's like, okay, underrate him then. Underrate him and let him show you what he can do. They also went and got Cam Coleman in the transfer portal. They got Raleek Brown at running back, Hollywood Smothers. That was the big chink in their armor last year, was they had no run game. It was literally zero run game for the Texas Longhorns. That two-headed monster in the backfield between Smothers and Brown is going to be terrifying. On the defensive side of the ball, you've got Rasheem Biles, the transfer from Pitt, who's one of the most electrifying linebackers in college football. You've got Colin Simmons, who's probably the best edge rusher in all of college football. This team is the team that Sark has dreamed of. This team is probably the only team in America that you can say it's national title or bust. Like, that's the pressure that is on Texas. And I think it's valid. I think it truly is because of the amount of money that they've put into this roster. So, Texas at 5, fair spot. I've got them at 4. But I really think this Texas team is going to be talented. I think they're going to be freaky good. I think they're going to be in the national championship game come January. So, Texas at number 5 in the AP poll. At number 4, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one of those rosters. I think it's Notre Dame and Oregon that are your two best rosters in college football. From top to bottom, you just don't have a hole. For Notre Dame's sake, CJ Carr is one of the best quarterbacks in all of America. He has put on some muscle this offseason. He's going to run the ball. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to do everything. You lose Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price to the NFL draft, both first-round running backs. But this running back stable is going to be by committee. It's not going to take a far step back. It's going to be a step back because what you had last year was like a Nick Chubb and Sony Michel type of backfield. It's just two generational talents at the running back position, and it's a godsend. But what you have this year is a stable of backs that is not going to really put you that far back. So I'm fully confident in Notre Dame. Their offensive line returns, I think, 3 of their 5 starters. Leonard Moore is probably the best defender in all of college football at the cornerback position. Their entire secondary returns. Their secondary would be talked about more if Leonard Moore didn't exist because they're all uber talented guys, but Leonard Moore just steals the show. Notre Dame, I've got them as my number 2 team. AP Poll has them as their number 4 team. They've got one of the easiest schedules in all of America. If they go 11-1 or 12-0, they're automatically in the playoff. If they go 10-2, it's a lot harder. Because if you go 10-2, your only 2 hard games, the only 2 teams I could see Notre Dame falling to are BYU and Miami. If they lose those 2 games, I think they're out of the playoff. Simply because the rest of their schedule is straight cupcake. They don't have to play USC this year. They have to play Navy, who's one of the better group of 6 teams. But I just think this Notre Dame team is going to go 11-1, maybe even 12-0 if they get over Miami. And I think this team could very well be the number 1 team in the country entering the college football playoff as a 12-0 undefeated campaign. So, Notre Dame at number 4 on the AP poll, number 2 on the Hammy poll. At number 3 on the AP poll, we're going with the Georgia Bulldogs. Your dogs are coming in at number 3. I think everybody is... We talked about this yesterday on a podcast I filmed with Saturday in Athens. Everybody is talking about how Georgia is the youngest roster in all of college football. But to me, as a Georgia fan, it just doesn't feel that way. Like last year, we were the youngest team in all of college football because Kirby stuck to high school recruiting. He didn't go get a lot of guys in the transfer portal, so we relied on a lot of freshmen and sophomores. A lot of those freshmen are sophomores, and a lot of those sophomores are juniors, obviously. That's how math works. That's how college works. A lot of those guys, yes, they might be young, but they've played college football in meaningful games, in SEC championship games, in playoff games, in big-time regular season games. This team doesn't feel like the youngest roster in all of college football. In fact, it feels like one of the most experienced rosters in all of college football. You return Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. You return 4 of 5 starters on the offensive line. Your defense is one of the most stacked it's been since 21 and 22. That linebacker unit is the best in the country. Your secondary is led by KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson. Like, this team is stacked. The tight end room, don't even get me started. Somebody in the Instagram comments said this a little earlier. Talk about the Georgia tight end room. So I will. This tight end room has like 4 NFL dudes, and 2 of them probably aren't going to see the field that much because you're just so deep. Lawson Lucky is your guy that's played the most snaps, has come back as a senior. He's going to be the favorite target out of the tight end room. But even when he's not in the pass game, he's one of the best blocking tight ends in all of college football. Elias Williams might be your tight end 2 option, or Jaden Riddell. Elias Williams is a 6'8 dude, 270 pounds, 260 pounds, something like that. Freak of nature. We could see him lined up out wide, kind of like a Kyle Pitts-styled tight end that doesn't line up as a down lineman, a blocking tight end very often. This tight end room is going to be a game changer. The question mark for Georgia is the wide receiver room. But when I look at the wide receiver room, I think its deficiencies are made up in the tight end room because it's a pass-catching division as a whole, not just the wide receiver room. Of course, you have to have talent in the wide receiver room. You bring in Isaiah Canyon from Georgia Tech. I think he has the potential to be wide receiver 1. I think Talon Taylor, I think he's in his second year. He's a second-year player. I don't know if he's a redshirt freshman because he didn't play enough games and can hold on to that red shirt. I can't remember. I got to look back. But Talon Taylor has the potential to be wide receiver 1. Sokovie White-Helton has the potential to be not necessarily wide receiver 1, but like have the most yards out of this wide receiver room because of the offense that Mike Bobo runs. Mike Bobo runs a screen pass-heavy offense. Zachariah Branch was the best screen pass receiver in all of college football last year, and it fit perfectly. You've got a guy in Sokovie White-Helton that is kind of Zachariah Branch 2.0. It's Zachariah Branch in the flesh. It's the next step of Zachariah Branch in that screen game. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to bounce it outside. He's going to do the jet sweeps. I really like Sokovie White-Helton. And then you've got a guy in London Humphreys that returns, probably your most experienced wide receiver, played the most snaps, if you will, for the Georgia Bulldogs. I think this wide receiver room is severely underrated because of a guy like Trey Shields. A guy like Trey Shields was a 3-star recruit out of Flowery Branch, comes in and is massively underrated in the recruiting rankings. Tape didn't really get out, which is hard to understand in this day and age of huddle highlights in 2026. But a guy like Trey Shields has the door wide open for him to be an immediate impact player as a true freshman. This kid could be in the rotation, the wide receiver rotation, in every single first down, second down, third down package. That's how good this kid is and what the reports are saying out of fall camp. I really like Trey Shields. I think he's going to have a breakout season as a freshman. I think Georgia is quite fairly ranked at number 3, but still, in the eyes of the AP, even though they're number 3, I feel like they're a little underrated. Of the top, let's see, 7 teams, they are one of 2 teams to not receive a first place vote. It is Georgia and it is Texas. All 5 other top 7 teams received at least 1 first place vote entering the college football season. I find that hard to believe because of what I talked about earlier, the experience that Georgia has. But hey, if that's bulletin board material that Kirby Smart needs, then fire away. Fire the freaking hell away because I love the bulletin board material. I think Georgia at 3 is a money fit. I think they should deserve a couple of first place votes if any of the Georgia biased voters are looking out for us. But I digress. Georgia at number 3, and the Hammy Poll, we've got them at number 5 because I'm too superstitious to put them anywhere above that, and I don't want them to be jinxed in any sort, form, or fashion. So, Georgia at 5 in the Hammy Poll, AP Poll number 3. Number 2 and number 1, you know who it's going to be. Oregon at number 2 in the AP Poll, number 1, Ohio State. State at number 1, the Hammy Poll and the AP Poll agree on. At number 2, Oregon in the AP Poll, we've got Oregon at number 3. We've got Notre Dame at number 2. you're going to have any sort of conglomeration, mix-up, whatever you want to call it, in this top 6 or 7 teams. I really think Oregon can be the number 1 team. I really think they could be the number 3 team. Oregon is probably the most complete roster alongside Notre Dame. You've got a guy in Dante Moore that could have been the number 1 overall pick in the college or in the NFL draft last year. You've got a guy in DeCorian Moore that's going to be an absolute stud receiver. You've got a guy in Everett Stewart that comes back, and he's going to be a stud receiver. You've got a running back stable. You've got an offensive line that returns 3 of 5 starters. You've got a defense that is probably going to be the nastiest defense in the entire country. I think this Oregon defense is freakishly good, and I'm excited to see what Dan Lanning can do with all of those freaks on the field. So, Oregon at number 2, I find it fair. I've got them at number 3, but they are the most complete roster, and I totally understand if you have them at number 1. At number 1, it's Ohio State. In the Hammy Poll and the AP Poll, number 1, Ohio State. You don't have to look much further than Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football, one of the best receivers we've ever seen come through the ranks of college football. Julian Sayin is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country this year. Julian Sayin was a Heisman contender last year, a Heisman finalist, a Heisman invite, and he still feels underrated. He had a completion percentage of 78 or 79% last year. That's unfreaking heard of in college football. Julian Sayin is going to be a stud, and he's going to have the best wide receiver to throw to. Behind Jeremiah Smith, that's where your question marks maybe start. You lose guys like Carnell Tate to the NFL draft, but Brandon Ennis comes back. I think he's going to be an excellent wide receiver too. Your tight end room has some guys that are perennial talents out of the recruiting ranks, perennial talents out of the transfer portal ranks, and they're going to be significant impact players for this Ohio State offense. Running back, Bo Jackson is the most underrated player in the Big Ten, I think. I think he is you've got Ahmad Hardy, Kwan Lacey, and I think Bo Jackson is like number 2. I think Ahmad Hardy, Kwan Lacey are number 1A, 1B. Bo Jackson number 2. Because this dude is a freak. I think he could be an All-American, and I think it's an excellent option. Like, you have to respect the run, obviously, with a guy like Bo Jackson in your backfield, but then you don't account for the pass, and Julian Sayin is going to put it on the money to one of the best receivers in the country every single time. This offense is absolutely terrifying. I think Ohio State has the best chance to win the national championship, the Big Ten championship. I love this Ohio State team. I think they're going to be exhilarating to watch. And, did I mention they have one of the best head coaches in all of college football in Ryan Day? Ohio State, in my opinion, is the bar none number 1 team in all of America. So, there you have it. AP Poll number 1, Ohio State. Hammy Poll number 1, Ohio State. My friends, this is the Hammy Show. We've broken down the entire AP Poll top 25 preseason drop, compared it to our Hammy Poll. We've got them on either side of me on the YouTube stream. But for all of you here on Instagram, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Hammy Show. Go follow us on TikTok. For all of you watchers on YouTube, go follow us on Instagram at @_Hammy Show. We've got so much content coming out for you this fall. It's going to be exhilarating to follow. We are the best college football page. I can promise you that. You will not find a more entertaining bunch than we have here at the Hammy Show. We're going all across the country to find the best college football games every single weekend. We're hitting double headers all weekend. It would not be possible without our friends at Hughes Subaru powering the Hammy Show on the road. But this episode 25 of the Daily Ham is brought to you by Legacy Structures. Like I said, my friends, a little earlier, Legacy Structures is the best recreational construction company in the game. Whether you're looking to build a patio, a blacktop, a pickleball court, a dugout, a shaded structure, anything outdoorsy, recreational, Legacy Structures has you covered. My friends, Legacy Structures, what is your legacy? Well, our legacy today was putting our chips on the table, going all in on the Hammy Poll compared to the AP Poll. It has been an absolutely awesome one. I just threw a pin across the room. But this is the Hammy Show. I'm your host, Hammy Culpepper. As always, my friends, ham it up.